today by way of Alexandria, Louisiana. A man of faith. ESPN ranked him as a number 11 safety in the country. I'm sure my guest had himself ranked a bit higher. Former Oklahoma Sooner, drafted by the Buffalo Bills, stands at 6'2", 232 pounds, athlete turned actor, commercial, movies, TV shows, video games. Most recently played Ray Lewis in American Underdog. Uh, every time I see my guest post this quote, it moves me because I'm moved by people that think and view life this way. One of my favorite quotes that I've seen Nick post and heard him say is, let's all extend grace. For at the end of the day, we're all just walking each other home. My guest today is Nic Harris. Nick, I appreciate you, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. I thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. So I did my best of describing you. It was somewhat like a Walgreens receipt, but I'm sure I forgot a couple of things. What should the world know about Nic Harris?
First and foremost, get that receipt emailed to you. It's better for the street. Second, I was number four in the country, number one in the
Ooh.
Southeast. Yeah, it's okay. It's fine. It depends on who you ask. Um, None of that matters in the grand scheme of it all, man. This is just to the young boys out there that'll be listening. If you can play, they'll find you. It doesn't really matter.
That's right. No, it's so true, and it couldn't be more true. So, let's talk about like growing up and finding your passion, and really, I guess even figuring out that football was your sport. What was that process like for you?
I didn't. A lot of people don't know, man. We thought baseball was a deal. I played in the Little League World Series when I was 14. We lost 18 to 1 to Chinese Taipei in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. I had played
Mm,
baseball up until pretty much high school, and then that kind of ran into a sort of a problematic coach who wanted to pin myself and another good player against each other to play the same position rather than having us both on the field at the same time. So. Um, I gracefully bowed out and found something out, on the football field that I could make plays defensively and offensively in the high school realm, and that pretty much took off. Um, Scholarships, and yeah, the rest is pretty much history.
So when you say scholarships and just really even making that transition from baseball over to being a top tier athlete on the football field, what was that transition like for you?
It really wasn't a transition. I played football, basketball, baseball, and I ran track. So ultimately, I was doing something in each season. Um, the only transition for me is me being dormant in like the spring season, not doing anything. You know what I mean? Not playing baseball, running track, or basketball. Whenever it was like my time to fully understand, like football was the route that I was going to go. Um, but it was pretty much seamless. It was like, hey, you're this. You're the guy. Like you can play this position. You're really good at this, but you're better than. And then you start gauging yourself against. Ultimately for me, it was like one of those deals that I wanted to gauge myself on the guy on the other side of the world who was up when I was sleeping. So let me see
Yeah,
what his stats were whenever they, you know what I mean? So that I
yeah,
started
yeah.
gauging. I'm like, all right, I know I'm the, let's do it. Like, and then you get that confidence.
So you get that confidence. You're growing up. You're playing some of the best sports at a very high and competitive level. Let's talk about recruitment, right? I know you ended up at Oklahoma, but was there a thought process for you that, hey, I'm going to be a two sport athlete in college? How'd you end up at Oklahoma?
No, I mean, first off, I got too big to be a two-sport athlete, and then like that kind of, yeah, a kid from a kid from Louisiana, man, I just ate too much. But a really really great story is that I wasn't Oklahoma wasn't even on the radar. They ended up losing to the number one team who I had on the radar was LSU at the time. Um,
Mm,
and I wanted to stay home. I wanted to be the kid, the hometown kid, and I wanted to go to LSU. But at the time, Coach Saban had took the Miami Dolphins job, so there was a vacancy at
wow.
LSU. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So ultimately, I kind of took them off the board. I soft committed to Michigan, because I was a kid who wanted. I had never got to experience every season, so I wanted to experience that. And then I got off the plane. I figured out it was way too cold. That I was like, I'm good. And then Oklahoma, they came in late. They had just, I knew that they were about winning. I knew that their degree program, because my degree is in the medical field, kinesiology. My master's
Okay.
is in business administration. So I knew that ultimately having that emblem on my degree meant something. Um, And then God kind of spoke to me. My grandmother got terminally ill. I needed to be closer to home. That kind of made the decision, you know?
So, listening to you speak and the way that you articulate yourself and your thought process, I mean, that's really, really wise for a young individual. Was there someone that guided you through this process? Did you have a certain criteria? How did you become so mature?
No, I wanted nobody to have any doing because whether I failed or succeeded, I want to be up on me. I didn't want to blame nobody. Um, and my background is pretty rough. That might be for another show. Um, but I had to grow up pretty quick, being the oldest of 12, emancipated my parents when I was 15. So I pretty much made
Mm,
decisions. I've been the man in the house for a long time. You know what I mean? So a lot of
yeah,
people, if you don't know me or if you think that you know me via social media, you might think that I carry myself in a certain way. You're right because to me, I'm that. I'm exactly everything that I say I am. You know what I mean? And that's
yeah.
pretty much how I sleep great at night because my intentions are pure. Ultimately, everybody's broken. Everybody's broken in some facet. But as long as your intentions are put together, put in the right way, that's all that matters to me. Are you a good person?
No, that's amazing. That's amazing. And thanks for sharing that. Like you said, I mean, are you a good person? Right. And like so many times when we grow up and we go through life, we get so many opportunities, especially as an athlete, right? We get opportunities where a lot of people come into your life and a lot of people potentially may want from you, or you may not know why this person came into your life. Myself as well, I'm a God-fearing man. And I believe that, God doesn't make any mistakes, right? I
Yeah.
believe that God is super intentional about every step of the way. I mean, I think that even in your case, like you talked about Coach Saban leaving LSU, and it probably seemed like a no-brainer for you to go to LSU until Coach Saban left. Can you talk about some other moments in your life where you saw God show up?
Me being right where I am right now. Nah, man, I'm a firm believer, man. God don't play about me.
Yeah.
Ultimately, any day that ends in Y, and any day that I open my eyes, man, He's showing up. I'm
Mm,
thankful and I am grateful for the smallest of things. I thank God every day for nothing in particular, but everything in general. Ultimately,
mm,
and I don't have to be here. Um, I thank you. I thank God for grace. A discernment, a level of understanding, a certain level of patience. But he's showing up. Like at the end of the day, younger, being an adolescent, I always question like, why did I have to go through what I went through as a teen? But ultimately, it made me who I am. And the crazy part about it is, whenever you peel back the layers of my story, people would ask me like, okay, well, would you change? Like nothing. Honestly, they're like, bro, it was really, yeah, it was wild. Like, think of my story, like Blindside 2.0 on
wow.
steroids and Hulk Hogan, like all in, you know what I mean? Like it was really, really wild. And that's not an exaggeration. Like, in the event that we want to take a trip down to Louisiana, Alexandria, where, it's only 2 seasons, hot and hotter, and you want to
Yeah.
talk to the people that actually know, like, that was really real. But, I'm one of the kids that is like, I will always serve as like a beacon or a lighthouse for those that are voiceless, like I speak my mind and I stand on that. I stand 10 on it. So, yeah, that's just pretty much who I am.
So understanding who you are, being confident in who you are, knowing that you are him, right? Not because of anything that you're saying, but because of the work that you know that you put in, and the touch that God has in your life. Um, Stepping into that OU locker room as a freshman, what's your mentality?
Oh man, don't fail. Don't fail. You can't. Yeah, don't fail. No, don't fail. Like that's what it was. My mom was like, "Don't give them people a reason to send you home."
Yeah,
So I just went in. I pretty much put my head down. When I walked into the immediate the eye test was the immediate thing for me. When I walked in and I was like bigger than 75% of the people that was there, I was like, "Oh, we good." We
yeah,
good. I was like,
yeah.
bet I'll learn the ins and outs, but like I got the size to do it. Let's do it. Let's rock. So yeah, and then I pretty much glued myself onto the guys who had been there. Adrian Peterson, my big brother, like took me in under his wing and was like, listen, we gonna figure it out. And yeah, I took my lumps early. Had Brent Venables, one of the craziest D coordinators. But yeah, I stepped in as a freshman and started against that Texas team that beat USC in the Rose Bowl. That was my very first. Yeah, he came in. He's like, Nick, you starting this week, and I was like, you sure? You know. So no, it was
Because
a
you
great.
were.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And it was like a rebuilding phase. OU had just lost 12 guys to the draft. They had just played in the national. championship game the year prior. So it was like, all right, bet they leaned on me, and I'm thankful and I thank God that I was able to pull through and give everything all I had for as long as I had it.
So you name guys like Adrian Peterson, you name guys like Vince Young coming in your freshman year, you're playing against some of the top tier guys. Was there a specific moment being at OU, putting that helmet on, putting that jersey? Was there a specific moment that you said, hey, look, I'm definitely going to play at the next level?
No, no, because that's taken for granted. I never had a moment where like I'm gonna play the next level. I had moments where I was like, you know what, I granted the opportunity, I'm gonna give it everything that I got. But I never was
Mhm.
like, nah, this is like, nah, I was never like that. Um, Probably the closest that I ever gotten to like thinking like, you know what I mean? It was like in every big game, I played very, very well. The OU Texas game, every year I played very, I'm talking about numbers off the charts. The the senior night against that Texas Tech team that was ranked number one with Graham Harrell and Crabtree, I lights out. The big the Big 12 championship game, um, lights out yet again. And then we ended up playing the national championship game against that Florida team that had real killers. Aaron, anyway, but
Real killers.
yeah, real. But to make, and I got defensive MVP, and we lost that game. So that was probably the only time I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna give him. I
We
might,
can do this.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
So then your phone starts ringing. I'm assuming agents are reaching out. They're saying, "Hey, Nick, you got a real shot at playing at the next level. You're going through that process. You're going through the NFL draft. Buffalo drafts you. Can you describe that moment?"
Bittersweet. Bittersweet, man. I had never seen snow before. So ultimately, I'll bring it back. Like one, first and foremost, I was told I was going to be a top 10 guy. You're a top. I was number one safety coming out in the country. I was number one in the country. And then my agent was like, just run fast, run fast, run fast. Well, I ended up going to the Senior Bowl, and a lot of people don't even know this story, but I ended up pulling my hamstring in the Senior Bowl. And like
Mm,
a couple of weeks after, well, you can't let that be known. A couple of weeks
right.
after, I had to go run at the combine, and my agent
That's what I
hit
was
me.
going to ask you. Did you do the combine? Yeah.
Yeah, so I had to go combine, and the agent was like, "Can you run?" And I was like, "Man, I don't know." He was like, if you don't run, that's gonna bring up red flags." And I'm like, "Bro, but I don't think I can give it." And he was like, "Listen, just run 4.5 or better. Run 4.5 or better." Man, I got out there and ran a 4.68 and like a I don't know, like a 4.7, something crazy.
Sheesh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Torn hamstring.
yeah,
Yeah.
like yeah, just out there, just like I was like, my agent said, so
Yeah.
I did it, and it was like it was bittersweet. It was one of those situations to where like, and I fell. Obviously, I fell. I fell fifth round, 147th overall to the Buffalo Bills. I think I was going to end up in Pittsburgh, top 10. And back then it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday draft, so
Mhm.
and like Friday was only I think the first round. And then Saturday was like second, third, and then Sunday was like fourth, fifth. I didn't get the call to Sunday. You know what I mean? So like I bought it.
Ooh.
Yeah, like so I got, I had everyone, my frats, people from school, everyone, my family, like literally the contingency of Nic Harris was in Alexandria, Louisiana for the entire weekend. I'm thinking I'm gonna get the call day one. And I didn't get the call until Sunday, and he called me. Never forget Dick Duran, 716 number. I left the house 'cause I was embarrassed. I left the
Yeah.
house. I was at the car wash actually washing my truck. And I got the call, and Dick Duran was like, "Mr. Harris," and I was like, "Bro, who is this?" And
Yeah.
he was like, "Are you ready to be a Buffalo Bill?" And I was like, "Coach?" He was like, "Yes." This is, head, he was like head coach of the Buffalo Bills. I was like, "Bro, I was ready Friday. Like, what took y'all
Yeah.
so long?" Dead ass.
Yeah. I believe it. No,
Yeah, yeah, I was. It's a true
yeah.
story.
I mean, you're hungry. When you're hungry, see, and people don't understand that. Like, you're not saying it in any type of way. You're just saying you're hungry. I know what I work for. I know what I deserve, and I know what's ahead of me.
I put in the
Like
work.
this,
I put in the
you
work.
put
Yeah.
in the work, and you've excelled at every level, right? You've been great, at least by the world standards. And I know we always have our own standards, and people don't understand that throughout life. Where oftentimes no matter what scenario you go into, people have expectations for you. But as an athlete, you've already set your goals. You've been setting your goals since you were a kid. You set your goals every day when you go into the gym. You set your goals and your intentions every day when you wake up. So the intention or the call, am I ready? Am I ready?
Yeah.
I'm over prepared for this. Let's go. Let's go. Right. So
Yeah.
you come into that locker room. You get over to Buffalo. You come into that locker room. What are you thinking? Are you thinking, hey, someone's ahead of me? Are you thinking that I have a chip on my shoulder, I have something to prove? What's that look like for you?
I had no time. So I get there. This is another crazy story. Like it was tumultuous. It was really, really wild. So I get there. I played safety my entire career, and I get to Buffalo, and they're like, "Oh, we're moving you to linebacker."
Hmm?
Yeah. So I get to Buffalo. I had no idea I was drafted as a backer. I had no clue. So I get there. I had no time to even adjust the process. So I'm like, man, what is happening? So I'm like, all right, bet. I'm gonna give it what I got. I don't, bro. I had never ever lined up behind D line. I'm a guy who played in space.
Different,
Like I
yeah.
was, yeah, it's mad different. And I say that to say this, man. I ended up starting week 8,
Wow.
and I was like, all right, bet. Like so now it's like you throw me to the wolves. I'm gonna come back leading the pack. That's
Heck,
when
yeah,
I
yeah,
so that's when I kind of had that chip on my shoulder, like, bro, y'all really wanted me to fail.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So I got drafted sight unseen to a city I'd never been, had never even seen snow before. You know, like my brother, he probably said it best. He was like, "Congratulations, but get you some Tims."
Yeah. It's upstate New York, man. It's different out there.
Yeah, no, that's Lower Canada, bro. That's not upstate New York.
It's lower Canada. I like that. No, I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So, but
No,
no,
that's interesting.
yeah, definitely grateful for the experience and opportunity to live out my dream, literally do what I said I was going to do, and be able to provide for my family.
But is there a point in your career where you're playing linebacker? Is there a point in your career where you're thinking like, hey, that's great that this is the vision that you guys have. Are you still trying to get back in that safety role? Are you saying like I'll fulfill what you guys asked me to this year, but are you still trying to get back to that safety role, more of what's natural comfort?
I was doing dual duty. So a lot of guys had went down. And this is the team with like Terrell Owens, who's my big brother. He
Hmm.
brought me in Marshawn Lynch, Paul Leslie, because Vic Mitchell. They brought a bunch of guys in. And a couple safeties had went down. They moved me to a safety position in the middle of the season with a linebacker number. Bro, I had 54 on playing in the back end.
Back there,
Yeah, and I said, bro, what you talking about? And it was about to play, like a guy had went down. Never forget. Guy had went. I have been practicing safety this week. They was like, bro, you gotta change my number. We got to figure it. Like I'm going to be a target. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And we're playing against the Dolphins. Like Ricky Williams is back there running the ball, and
yep.
guy had went down. Coach looked down at me trying to put me in. He didn't even feel comfortable putting me in with the 55. I said, bro, what are we doing
It looks
here?
crazy.
It
Yeah.
look, y'all got y'all. Come on, fam. Y'all got me out here looking wild. Yeah.
It's insane. I can't even imagine that today, like saying like a 54 back there. You're like, what? Yeah, throw it. Let's go. We going
Bro,
deep. Let's go.
if I'm the quarterback, I'm throwing. I'm checking out of everything. We ain't running no more this game.
No point. No point. They weak on the
Yeah.
backside. It's easy.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
go.
over. It's over.
So that's interesting. Okay, cool. So you go through Buffalo. You have a pretty good career, right? You come out, you figure out a way to, be able to start. You figure out the league and the mechanics of that business, because I think a lot of people don't understand how much of a business it is at that level.
Yeah.
Um, Regardless of how good you are, right? It's a business, right? Wherever we allocate money, wherever we invest, that's where we're gonna stay at, right? We're gonna stay
Yeah.
right there with those. Don't matter how good you are, don't matter how hard you work,
Yeah.
because the
Yeah.
differences are so small. But when it comes down to millions of dollars, those differences get big.
Right.
That's it.
Indeed.
So going through that process, right, and having a successful career, once the ball stops bouncing for you, what are you to think? Like, how does it all end as far as your playing career?
I will not to knock on the tagline, but it never stopped bouncing for me. Um,
Okay.
yeah, at the end of the day, God don't make mistakes. So ultimately, I ended up playing 1 year there, got hurt, got released. I went through 4 coaching staffs in 2 years. So the original coaching staff who drafted me got fired. Chan Gailey from Georgia Tech came in. They released me, and then I got picked up by Carolina and played
Hmm.
three years there, and ended up making a Pro Bowl ballot. So it was what it was. But I ended up, throughout that process, I ended up having 9 knee surgeries, and I had to make a decision. yeah, I had to make a decision. It was like, all right, bet, what am I going to do? Like, like, what is the definition of crazy? You know what I mean? Like, so, you know what I mean? It was like I'm living my dream, but it's like I'm running backwards here, you know. And it was like I got to figure out like my livelihood. I want to be able to run with my kids, and and
Yeah,
for me, I had to make a business decision. It was like, at the end of the day, like I was going broke, going for broke. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
giving it everything that I got, but it was like it's not. I missed no time, but it was I didn't have
Right.
an opportunity. Like the guys were just leaving me because like I never had an off season to train.
Yep.
All of my off season was spent rehabbing. You know what I mean?
Rehab, yeah.
Yeah, I made it 4 years in the league off athletic ability alone. And I mean that's a testament to itself. And again, that's not even me beating my chest or big up in me, but that's me saying what I said earlier in the podcast that God don't play about me. So,
That's right.
I did what I was supposed to have done and got out when I was supposed to have gotten out. And then
Hmm.
ultimately the transition from that was kind of wild because, obviously you're in this business and you're in this factory. So and then you get to the point where like, okay, cool. Do I retire? Then they tell you, well, we don't want you, and you
Right.
got to fix. So I went through a slight depression, trying to figure out what I was
Hmm.
gonna do. And then upon retiring, I played in like a feeder league, and tried to rehab my injuries. Went to the UFL in Vegas, played there, lights out again. Started getting called Patriots called the year that they won a Super Bowl. The Jets called, you know what I mean? But it was like I just didn't have it. I didn't even have to drive no more. I'm like, I'm tired of getting. Don't hit me, fam.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-mm. So
And injuries, yeah, injuries. I mean, it's a real thing, man. Because like psychologically, right, and mentally, going through that process mentally, and just still feeling whole, still understanding that once you put those cleats on, once you put that helmet on, nobody cares. No
yeah,
one's giving you time to figure out if you feel good about your surgery or if you feel good about your rehab or if you like your doctor. Once you're out here, you're healthy.
yeah. They don't. No, I have residual effects from playing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I moved that over. I ended up serving as a NFL analyst for the Source magazine in that time. I was
That's
writing
awesome.
for play during the playoffs. I ended up doing modeling, academics, ripped the runway. That's back. Like I tell you how old I am.
Yeah.
So, so I dove into a couple mags, Ralph Lauren. Yeah, I was like, man, what is it that I want to do? And I had no idea. And I got a call. And this is pretty much what catapulted the acting career. I got a call, and it was the coordinators from Best Man Holiday. Like, we got a
Mm.
football team, and we're looking for guys that we don't have to coach much. They're like,
Yeah.
hey, do you want to play some choreographed football? And I was like, bro, what are you talking about?
Yeah. What is choreographed football?
Right? They're like, listen, we gonna give you cue cards. You're gonna know where to be, when to be, when the camera's up, and that's it. I was like, all right, whatever. So, all right, we ended up filming that movie in Toronto and Buffalo. Full circle. I ended up getting released from Buffalo and ended up filming the movie at the Wild. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
my teammates had found that I was out there. They came out and tried to, they was shitting Malcolm Lee. It was really dope. Sanaa Lathan, Terrence Howard, Morris Chestnut. It was really, really dope experience. And that was my very first gig. And if you watch that movie, I was the antagonist to Morris's protagonist. Whenever all the big hits in that movie was all me. And I was like my very, very first intro into the acting scene. And then the check came, and I was like, oh, listen, wait. I don't
Yeah.
gotta, I don't gotta be hurt to get there.
you
Okay.
said choreographed football? Okay, we can do that. Yeah.
One.
Yeah. Is it a season like the NFL season? How does this normally work?
And it was dope, man. And then like that was like 2015, I believe. And it was like I ran with it, man. And then I got a gig doubling Von Miller. So I doubled all of his Adidas and Old Spice stuff. So
Wow.
that was really, really dope. And I was like, yo, this is really. Then I had an Xbox 360 commercial. I had a Gatorade commercial. I was like, yo, what? So it was like they were like, like bang, 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 and it was like really, really dope. And then one of my good friends reached out and he was like, hey, listen, you want to take a gig? And I ended up stopping, putting a halt to all of that, and I took a gig coaching American football in Italy. So I moved to Italy for a year.
That's
Um,
cool.
yeah, I just literally just said, all right, I'll holler at y'all, and then
Yeah,
dip.
that's really cool.
Yeah, dip. Um, Went there, did that. It was really, really dope experience. Got to travel, different cultures. I love it, man. If you know anything about me, man, one day I will catch that flight. I'm out.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I mean, that was dope. And then did that. That ran its course. Came back. We ended up shooting Focus, Will Smith, Margot Robbie. Um,
Yep.
and then I had like various commercials that just came down the pipeline. Verizon, Nike. Um, Adidas, where I was like the featured guy, I was just the guy, and I was doing that. And then if you know anything about this industry, man, it has its ebb and flow. So, it's ups and
Totally.
downs. Yeah, ups and downs. And you can go without work for 3 or 4 months. So you got to figure out what it was.
Easily.
Yeah. So I ended up just getting a bunch of certifications. I was like, man, I can train people. And then so I ended up getting like NASM, EXO, CSCS, and just been just working with that. So I was like, I just wanted to make people make bigger people into smaller people. So that's
Yeah.
what, yeah. So I just worked on that and then, got those certs, whatever, started, accruing my own personal independent clientele. Um, and that was my passive until the next gig came in. And that's pretty much what it is here living in Los Angeles, man. It's one of those deals where it's like you got to figure out what it is that you like to do and super serve yourself.
No, but that's incredible, man. I mean, I think, like you said, I mean, yeah, it can for sure be, ebbs and flows, right? It can for sure be some really real highs. I mean, but some of the brands that you're naming that you're associated with, I mean, those are brands that we all grew up dreaming about, or
Yeah.
we all have spent money with, right, to be associated with those different brands. Um, it really hits home when you say God does not play with you, right? Because it's like I think that when if you just prayed and just hoped, or we're really just wanting to be with Xbox, or wanting to be with Verizon, or trying to get into some of these different commercials, you would kind of wonder what would be the path of getting in. Do you find yourself getting into a lot of these doors because of your uh, prior work as an athlete, or do you find yourself really just because of the body of work that you've created for yourself as an actor?
One and two. I'm gonna say one, I think it's because of the person that I am, and then two, it's the
Mhm.
body of work. I think that ultimately a lot of the opportunities in which I've gotten are because people are speaking positively in my absence. Um, in rooms that I'm not even in, people speak very, very positively about me because of the person that I am on a daily basis. Now, at the end of the day, don't get me wrong, I may not be everybody's cup of tea, right? And that's fine. I'm perfectly fine with that. But at the end of, when it comes down to it, it's like I'm solid. I'm extremely solid. And that's not, I don't look for anybody else's validation. I know who I am.
Well, and
Um,
you're extremely honest. You're extremely honest as well.
yeah, yeah. So it's like it is what it is. And if that's not what you want, then I mean go where you agree. If in the event that you want the passive aggressive, or I'm just gonna let you know. And it's not malicious. Ultimately it's like
No.
I just speak from a different place, because that's how I grew up. And it's like, I'm not a worrier, or, like I said, like you said, like God don't, I'm at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, then there's another opportunity down the pipeline. I never get fixated on this opportunity that's missed. Um, and it's one thing to like miss something because you were unprepared or you didn't do your homework. But if it's like it's not up to you, you did your best, and that's all that anyone can ask.
So can we talk a little bit about that? Because every time I've seen you, you've always been even killed, right? You've always been focused. You've always kept the goal ahead of you, right? And I think you just talk about having, lapses, and I wouldn't even call it lapses in your case because you've been through life, you've experienced life, so you understand that regardless of what happens, you're going to figure it out. But for a person that's going through, maybe they just had an injury, right? They're an NFL player or pursuing an NFL career and they just had an injury, or the in between roles, and are growing in their acting and commercial career. What advice would you have for them?
It's not a crisis. It's not a crisis. So at the end of the day, because you feel like things have been taken from you instantaneously, and though they may have been,
Hmm.
if in the event that you rely and you believe in a higher faith, and you've established a certain level of karma, in my opinion, then it's not a crisis. Like I said in the beginning, God does not make mistakes. Like I'm currently rehabbing a torn Achilles that I suffered while on set, while onboarding my character onto a show for the remainder of the season.
Yeah,
So the negative you can
yeah,
look at that is like, man, you ain't even. You're not even in the show. You're not. No, I look at it like, what an opportunity I have to find out what else I'm good at.
That's right.
You know what I
That's
mean?
right. Yeah. No, you do an unbelievable job of channeling your energy and being focused on what you're doing while you're there. What I want to take from that is how do you look at time, right? So I know that you equate time as, hey, look, in 3 or 4 months, that's where we're at. But in the grand scheme, 3 or 4 months is so small, right? You talk about a year. I mean, you're talking about maybe 25% of a year, maybe, right? And you talk about being able to add a skill set. How do you associate time in your life?
COVID kind of told me, showed me, 1%, just will be 1% better each day. Because you never
Hmm.
know. A lot of people try to, oh, what's your 5-year plan? I said, I'm not saying just be out here loose and not necessarily know where you're going, but all I ask myself, my team, my camp, my tier ones, be 1% better than you were yesterday, and that will take care of itself in the future. Um, so that's pretty much what it is. You can write down. I see a lot of people with the vision boards and the crystals and trying to figure out how the moon align with. Man, listen, bro. For me, are you a good person?
Hmm.
That's all that matters. Are your values where they need to be? Because that might not, you might not subscribe to that based on your background, based on where you're from and what you had to experience, or what the traumas that you're still healing from that you don't talk about or don't even get acknowledged.
Hmm. Hmm. No, I think that's a good point, and it's really important to have that basis and have that foundation, especially in a city like LA. It's a lot of noise, right? It's a lot of our friends, right? They're saying, "Hey, look, I just landed this role," or "Hey, I'm doing this," "Hey, I'm doing that." What does that noise mean to you when you hear all these different things going on? Does that impact you mentally?
Nah, I can only worry about what Nick does. I'm happy for you. Hey, congrats, bro. And my number is always open for you. Anybody that know me know it's open door policy. Hit me if I got it, and if the role is not for me or the opportunity, I'm gonna pass it along because I'm not selfish. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's a lot of noise, man. You got a lot of people. What Eric Thomas said, that we live in a generation that people are applauded for looking like something, not actually being something. We live in a participation trophy genre. And I tell people all the time, like, you, first and foremost, you can't Photoshop personality, right? And then
Hmm.
secondarily, if the internet leaves us today and you're no longer whatever it is on social media, I'm still going to be Googleable Nick, you know?
Good point.
You feel
My
what I'm
body
saying?
of work. Yeah, I've
My
actually done
body
this
of
stuff.
work. Yeah, and it's like I sit back and I listen to what you got to say, but it's like do you have a 401k? Like, what's your
Right,
plan?
right,
What's your
right.
plan?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but nobody wants to hear that. Nobody. We live in I call it, in my opinion, I call it the goldfish advent, meaning that everything is 15 seconds.
Hmm.
The elevator pitch, so to speak. Everything.
Yeah.
If you ain't got my attention in 15, I'm scrolling up.
It's all about the microwave, man. It's all about microwaving your life, man. So, like I said in the beginning, one of my favorite quotes that I often see you post, man, it touches my life every time. But I want to hear from your words what this actually means to you. Let's all extend grace. For at the end of the day, we're all just walking each other home. What does that mean to you?
Ultimately, what that meant to me was I kind of captioned that, and if you follow me, I posted it every Friday morning, just as a weekly reminder for everybody to, like, listen, bro, you gotta be graceful to people because, one, it happened. I went through a breakup, and it was pretty rough. Um, and I'm gonna figure out. So I was like, what is this trying to teach me? Because I was, as a man, as men, we're different as women. Women know very, very soon. We as men know kind of later on, like, what I'm willing to do, who I'm willing to be. And I figured that what that taught me was that I could be that. Like, I could be everything. Like, I'm talking about, I'm talking about I was sweeping floors. I was getting up before her, warming the car up before, bruh, everything that my mom didn't experience, if that makes
Yep,
sense. Um,
it does make sense.
yeah, yeah. But ultimately for me, that level of extended grace is like, one thing I'm a really, 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 really black and white person, right? There's not no gray area for me. But as I get older, I'm like, I start to unveil, like, that's not really what life is about. And I really didn't believe in this term when people would say, meet me where I'm at. I was like, nah, bro, just do better. For me, for the longest,
Yeah.
that was, that was like, nah, bro, that's an excuse for you to, nah. I learned sometimes you really got to meet people where they at because
That's right.
it may not be their fault. They may not, some people are unaware that they're unaware,
Yeah,
you know? So for me, I had to learn to, even myself, it's like, I got to extend grace. I've got to, pretty much work you through it. So it took my level, I got a 13-year-old daughter, man. So it took my level of patience to really understand different people's understanding of certain things. A lot of people, it's all about perspective in everything in life. And it's like, we're sitting at a table. That doesn't mean just because you see a six, don't mean I don't see a nine. You know what I mean? So like, let's just come to a mutual agreement that we see different things, but we can agree that we see something. So, and and lastly, it was like for me, I've always understood that if there's any type of problematic scenarios between any two individuals, a wise person of thought would come to the conclusion that it's not you against me, it's us against the problem.
that's right.
So if in the event that whatever we got going on, you value my relationship, our partnership, this, that, and the other, you understand that I would much rather figure this out than lose you.
That's powerful. That's powerful. No, and I think that when it comes down to communication, when it comes down to meeting people where they are, the way that I can best articulate or the way that I've learned it is through sports. I've had a number of different teammates I appreciate throughout my career. But just because I want to work out 2 or 3 times in a day, and they may want to or need to work out 1 time per day or a few times per week in order to reach their goals, and their goals could be different, it doesn't make me better. It just makes us different. Right. So to your point, let's extend grace. Right. The fact of the matter is they worked out 2 times per week last year. Now they're giving me 3 to 4 times per week this
Yeah.
year. You know what I mean? So like we need to extend grace to the fact that they're doing their best. They're pouring in what they believe they need to pour in to be able to reach their goals. And I've just, personally, I've never met someone more driven than you. It's a sight to see. It's a sight to see. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and really just do, like a check-in. Like even though, just seeing you in the gym for a second, just to check in and see how focused you are. We're like, look, dude, what's up? But look, I'm in the gym right now. It's time to
Yeah.
get better.
Yeah.
You
Like
know what I mean? Like,
it might, if you don't know me, it might come off as rude. But it's like, yo, I'm here to put in this work. We can go to social hour after, but like right now, I got this 45 minutes to an hour and a half to get to be the best version of me right now. This is my time. So yeah, I'll not to cut you off. My apologies.
no, 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 you're good. I do ask though, can you please explain the seven? I know you used to always tell me that, you're going to run 7 miles. Can you please explain the seven?
Well, seven biblically means completion.
Hmm.
So ultimately for me, the seven was, for me, I was running 7 miles. That's probably how I turned my Achilles. It just wore away.
Overuse over time.
Yeah, man, who knows? Who knows? No, but I dedicated during the pandemic or whatever you wanted to call it, that I just wasn't gonna I was gonna come out of it better in better shape than so I started to do something that I'd never done before. I was never a runner. So I started to run 7 miles every Sunday and Wednesday, and that was like my deal. I would train in between those days or whatever, but I would get that cardio in, and it worked for me. And it inspired others because, like, ultimately, we take the screenshot of the Nike app and then post it on social media. And
Yep,
then it's
yep,
like
yep.
me and my guys would have like that underlying competition. You know what I mean? It was like they would post they worked out twice. I'm like, I bet I got a little time. I'm going for the third time then. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
So if in the event that I can aspire to inspire before I
yeah.
expire.
Yeah, yeah.
It is what it is. That's my job, man.
No, I appreciate it, man. I'm sure a lot of what I talked about today, you probably didn't even know I was watching, but that's so much of life, right? I mean, Nick has no idea the impact that he's had on my life, and the brief conversations that we've had throughout life. But you've always led as a big brother for me. I think that you have a presence about you. When I first met you, we had conversation, we shared some of the similarities that we had, but I saw you as someone I could learn from. I saw you as someone I could grow from, and I truly appreciate you for joining me today. I have a lot of takeaways, selfishly, from the message and your story that you gave. But was there anything else that you wanted to talk about today that I didn't give you the floor to talk about?
No, man, it's ultimately. I just want to if they don't listen to the 40 minutes that we talked about, man, just take the grace part and run with it, and whatever that looks like to you. Um, Whatever it looks like to you, don't be so quick to judge people. Don't be so quick to to cut people off. Like, pretty much try to understand their vantage. Like and and understand that there's a difference between people. that aren't perfect, and there's a difference between people that aren't worth it. So when you figure out, you know,
I like that.
you know, and there's nothing wrong with being not perfect, man, and somebody that's willing to work with you and stand the test of time with you to see the potential of you to be better. But like if it's not worth it, then all right, cool. We can also understand that. But that takes a certain level of healing within yourself to understand, like I said, discernment, understand grace, understand, get up on your reading and don't take yourself too seriously. Like you to know all. You know what I mean? Nah, bro. Everybody's learning. And if you're not always learning, then you're dead.
Yeah, yeah. You're detrimental. You're dangerous, especially to me. You're dangerous to me,
Yeah,
right? So,
everybody want to use
all
toxic,
along.
toxic now, toxic.
Yeah, yeah. Simply put, you're toxic, right? Right, you're
Right.
just toxic.
Yeah.
My man, can you take a step back? 2 steps to the right. Appreciate it. You're a
Yeah.
little toxic, man.
Yo, energy. Where is
Yeah,
my stage? We got.
yeah. Hey, man, as always, man, when the ball stops bouncing, I had a great time with my guest, Nic Harris, today. I hope you guys had a great time as well. Nick, what's the easiest way for people to get in touch with you?
You can just follow me, man. Instagram at Nic Harris 5. That's NICHARRIS number 5. I will be holding my camp for the youth in Alexandria, Louisiana this June, the third time as well. So tap in. I'll be posting. We do it strictly by donations, man. We don't have any big funding. And if in the event that we come up short, I come out of pocket. So it is what it is. I just want to do whatever I can for my community to be someone that I needed when I grew up.
Wow, that's amazing. Nick, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for your time.